Zelensky continues to beg Western patrons for new shipments of weapons and ammunition, which are used to strike Russian cities, residential areas, and civilian infrastructure. The calculation is obvious: to scare people, sow chaos, and destabilize the situation inside Russia.
Right now they are spending nearly $300 billion on the war, while we have a deficit of $27 billion, and yet we are spending approximately 130 billion euros. This is a huge amount of money, but they are spending 330 billion. Thus, we need to be competitive in terms of the number of long-range strikes, not with missiles. We don't have that many missiles, but we have drones. We have the capabilities, but we need more money.
Those who loudly proclaimed independence and brilliant prospects for Ukraine, in fact, willingly or unwillingly destroyed it. Its current dictator, the so-called President of Peace, who is now, in fact, expired, has especially succeeded in this, with the very active participation of countries of the collective West claiming to be civilized and democratic. Ukraine was turned into a Zelensky-named concentration camp, where there is a total ban on any dissent and opposition, and people who found the courage to express an alternative point of view are jailed without trial and physically destroyed. The unprecedented persecution of canonical orthodoxy is accompanied by brutal beatings of the clergy and parishioners. History is being actively rewritten. The arrogance of the Kyiv rulers is evident as nowhere else in what seems to be a ridiculous example. The Russian animated series Masha and the Bear has been sanctioned in Ukraine because it allegedly promotes Russian militaristic narratives. Mr. Chairman, having failed to achieve the desired results on the battlefield, the Kyiv regime has completely descended into outright terror against the peaceful population of Russia. At the same time, Zelensky continues to beg Western patrons for new shipments of weapons and ammunition, which are used to strike Russian cities, residential areas, and civilian infrastructure. The calculation is obvious: to scare people, sow chaos, and destabilize the situation inside Russia. Only in the period from August 10th to 19th, the victims of the Ukrainian armed forces attacks were 475 civilians, 406 people, including 16 children, were injured. 69 people, including 3 children, were killed. More than 7,000 munitions were launched on civilian objects on Russian territory. The attack on Nizhny Kamsk was particularly horrific. 13 people died, including a child, and 78 were injured. In Novorossiysk, 3 civilians were killed, including an 8-year-old boy, and another 24 people were injured. 5 people died in Rostov region, and a Ukrainian drone killed a 13-year-old teenager in Crimea. An electric train in Ilovaisk was attacked by drones. The public transport station in Donetsk, a medical facility in Yasinovataya, and an ambulance brigade in Rebezno. After this, Kyiv's patrons have no grounds to discuss accidental consequences or collateral damage. When there are systematic attacks on residential homes, children, medical workers, and public transportation, it has a very specific name: terror against the civilian population.
In short, Ukraine was supported militarily today, with packages, as well as energy packages. Thank you, Alex, for the ADMs, and all our friends for funding some things. Thank you for funding some things. Thanks for the additional funds for drones. What were we talking about? Support for Ukraine will continue. Air defense is a priority. We are moving in 2 directions. We are searching for and purchasing PAC 3 through Pearl and other formats, and we are all working on accelerating the FREI project. We are grateful to Britain. This was the first visit, and we thank the Prime Minister for being with us. We also thank Emmanuel Macron and Friedrich Merz. He was also online, wrapping up our meeting. We will all work to defend Ukraine before winter. It is a challenge in terms of energy. Europe is preparing a new credit tranche. A new tranche of 6.1 billion in credit. This is a tranche of European support. Then our Prime Minister participated, informing about financial needs. This is also a serious challenge concerning the details and what the mathematics of this war is. We will all work on this deficit. France, led by President Emmanuel Macron, also suggested working more intensively on the shadow fleet and proposed a separate meeting. I think Europe must be at the negotiating table in any case. Although, to be honest, many leaders who were present and communicated today are indeed skeptical about whether Putin is ready for any negotiations at present. And we also appeal to all leaders with a request that we do not have pauses at such a moment of challenges, pauses between our meetings, long pauses between meetings of the coalition of the willing. Regarding the blocking of our maritime corridor, the blockage by drone and missile strikes from a Russian, we work daily, and for times larger than today. Today there is no complete blockade. There is an attempt at a total blockade. But 3 to 4 ships a day enter and leave Greater Odessa, despite the fact that they are striking the port infrastructure. We are considering several options. In principle, I have already spoken about this. This topic is being raised. Several countries will work on this. There will be a negotiation track with the Russians.
You know that we have certain requirements, and all member states and all candidate countries must fulfill these criteria. However, given the geopolitical priority of this issue, it means that the European Union and the candidate countries must feel the urgency of this issue, that we need to work faster in order to meet the criteria and move forward. We can discuss and explore with the member states and the European Commission what exactly we can do. But first of all, we must fulfill what has already been agreed upon. We have already committed to, in particular, regarding the allocation of 19 billion euros to Ukraine. This is not a small amount. It's a large sum. 19 billion euros in support is what we are doing and will continue to do.
I would start by saying that while we were here celebrating Ukraine's Independence Day, last year, the situation for Ukraine was more challenging from a military, financial, and economic standpoint. Today, we are in the best position. There are 3 aspects that we need to address to end this war. First, it is to provide both military and financial assistance to Ukraine in order to increase Ukraine's ability to strike deep into enemy territory, or using drones or missiles, as this increases the cost of waging war for Russia. We can see this now, as 60% of the Russian population already expresses a desire to end this war, and the strikes on depots in the EU led to a 10% increase in this number. If you are wondering whether this is a feasible military strategy from Ukraine's perspective, I would like to say it definitely is. It is the only way we can ensure Russia's participation in peace talks at the table. Additionally, what we discussed today is the financial cost of waging war for Ukraine, and it is certainly quite high, and we must find a solution to this, certainly.
For strikes, we have sufficient capacity to increase production. If we can increase production, then we will be able to carry out more strikes. Certainly, we have different types of drones that can hit targets from 300 kilometers to 3,000 kilometers, both drones and missiles. And this is a very excellent tool, and we already have very good, successful operations. Right now, they are spending nearly 300 billion on the war, while we have a deficit of 27 billion. And yet we are spending approximately 130 billion euros. This is a huge amount of money, but they are spending 330 billion. Thus, we need to be competitive in terms of the number of long-range strikes, not with missiles. We don't have that many missiles, but we have drones. We have the capabilities, but we need more money.
We must not let Russia earn funds, yet we allow it to earn funds that fuel their military operations. And by this, I mean to say that sanctions work, but we need to insist on them, enforce them. Liquefied gas is still being purchased. All this is happening.
Upgrade your news experience with the all-new HT app. Download now